This garden is incredibly productive, but for me, it is also experimental. I'm always trying things that I haven't tried before. I've had hits and misses along the way. And even if things don't always go to plan, there are lessons to be taken, and sometimes unexpected benefits. Let's look back to late winter when I planted my first shallot crop. So you just really nestle them into the soil surface. The worst thing that you can do for a bulb onion like this is rot them by covering them with soil. But up there they are a risk of being pecked out by birds, but also from being completely frosted. So I'm going to put a frame over the top and then put a bit of a frost cover over the top of that, and I'll leave it there until they've solidly got their roots in the ground, and then it can come off and they can enjoy that warm sun. Well, I'm pleased to report that the shallots have been a fantastic success. For a really small amount of garden space and effort, they grew away and produced this fantastic crop. I've let it dry off and now I can store them for use right through the winter months. I'll replant some and I can give some away to some other gardeners. But really, this one for me has been a massive win. Now, let's check out another experiment from last winter. A soilless solution for my spuds to try and get around planting into the heavy clay soil here in the garden in central Victoria. Now, these bales are essentially just dry carbon, so to create a really good growing environment, you do have to add some things. I've got to add that moisture and the nutrients. You should see the tops of potatoes come through in about 3 or 4 weeks. And then hopefully by the end of summer, I should be able to cut that baling twine, harvest a stack of spuds, and get all that rotten straw to put on the garden as well. This experiment didn't quite go to plan. It was really effective. For the first few weeks, the potatoes shot away and grew beautifully, but we had a lot of rain over a short period. It drained down the hill, the bale soaked it up and completely soaked and rotted my crop. So no spuds out of this, but of course in gardening, there's really no such thing as a total loss. And the straw, now fully rotted and wet, is going to make cracker compost. Oh, put you to such productive use. Now, let's travel back to 2021. I want to make a small pond, and I'm going to do it in this bathtub, which is perfect for it because it's already watertight. I'm going to create a native plant pond, and many of these species are actually indigenous to the local area. This is a very special little fish. It's a southern pygmy perch, and it is an endemic species to southeastern Australia. Now, they make fantastic pond fish because they are frog friendly. I'm happy to report that this little pond brings so much joy in the garden. It, of course, is growing lots of beautiful plants. The Lythrum and the Buttercup flower beautifully, and there's all of that beautiful vegetation, but it's also used by so many species. Dragonflies, birds visit, and it also is still home to a great little population of rare pygmy perch. Now, the truth is I never see them. They're hidden down under the shade of the vegetation and the deck. That's why I put it there. But they keep the mozzies completely under control. I've also installed a little solar pump, so through the day this water trickles and it helps to aerate the water. And I do need to top that level up, but here in town our water is chlorinated, so I never add it straight into the pond. It's bad for the fish. Instead, I've got a little system. I fill up the bucket, and then after about 24, 48 hours, those chemicals have evaporated and I can pour that straight into the pond. For such a little investment of space and effort, this is a big win. It's not always a clear win or loss. Sometimes there's grey-green areas. What I've built is essentially a dry stone wall. Now, the wall is doing a great job already retaining all of the soil for this garden bed up here, but it is also going to provide me a fantastic microclimate to try a few new plants. One plant that I always want in my garden is this one. It's Capparis spinosa, the caper bush. And in Italy, I saw these seeded in walls and on buildings, and that's exactly what I want to try and create here. The wall project, well, I've had mixed results here. The capers that I pretty much built it to grow have failed. I suspect it was the timing. It was just getting too cold and they went dormant and they rotted away. So I'm going to try again in early spring and hopefully I'm going to have success. A lot of the pocket plantings also failed. They just got too hot and dry, but one has been really successful, and that is Crithmum maritimum. It's a great little herb or vegetable that you can add to lots of dishes. So in this case, this project, it's not a win, it's not a loss. I don't think it's even a draw, because everything in the garden is a lesson about how you might have better success in the future. Last winter, you might remember I planted a red flesh peach tree that I'd grown from seed. It was a wonky little tree and I wasn't really sure if it would take in our heavy clay soil. I gave it some really tough love with the secateurs. I always end up going too far. All right, walk away now. I'm going to see how it responds and hopefully this little stick will grow into a fantastic, delicious, beautiful, homegrown peach tree. Actually, I'm just going to take the whole centre out and we'll see what happens. Ta-da! Well, you can see what happens when you prune a tree quite hard. You get lots of vigorous response, particularly if you do it in winter. I'm really happy with this. I wasn't convinced it was going to be as strong. I'm not going to prune this tree now. I want all these leaves to stay on. I want it to keep photosynthesising and building energy. So instead, I'm just going to give it a really light feed with some organic fertiliser as it goes into its dormancy. It's getting even more energy. Because this is a seed-grown tree, I'm not 100% sure it's even going to bear beautiful fruit, but it is still worth trying. So the jury is still out on how much of a success this is, but our initial report, pretty leafy. Any gardener will tell you, no matter how long you've been doing it, there's always something new to try. And sometimes that'll be a great success. Other times it'll go completely pear-shaped, you'll fail. But it's no reason not to try. And it doesn't matter how things work out, you'll always get some sort of reward. Oh, yum. That's delicious.